Hey, Kim here. I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your tech stack and just kind of go over a few just little things that you could tweak and do just to get your business up and running a little bit easier, just a little few things that you can implement to get that flow of clients and customers into your base. The first one I'm going to talk to you about is the funnel you've already gone through. So I'm not sure if you found my funnel via social media on my website, but basically you agreed to getting my freebie. And then that freebie then started a chain of events. So whether or not you've downloaded that freebie and then you are now on to just clicking all the links in it, or whether or not you've received the email that has said, hey, if you need to move on, here's the next step. And either way, that's how you become here. And that's how you get to see me. Although it's very possible you might have just found me on YouTube all by myself. So there's just a couple of different ways that you can realize how people can get into your funnel. And like I mentioned, whether or not that was a link that I posted in a group, or whether or not that was through my website, or maybe it was through an email, or maybe just happenstance on YouTube. Maybe it was posted on social media in Instagram or TikTok, or maybe on my Pinterest page. There's just so many different ways that I have this one piece, this one freebie that I'm offering that then can get disseminated out into the world. And just by being able to do this, then I can share it with more people. And I can kind of just make it more well known so that people will then go and find out more about me, whether or not that is to follow me on social, or whether to click on this link to watch this, or whether it is just to get into my email funnel and see more about me. You just never know how people are going to find you with just one tiny piece of your information out there, right? And maybe it was even a Google search that you did and you happened to find this that way. It's all a matter of how you are able to take that one piece and deliver it to multitudes of different ways of people to find you. Now, we're going to back up a little bit because if you found me on social media, it could be because I posted on my own social media, whether or not that is Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, or YouTube. And you don't have to go in all of those different areas. You can just go ahead and post on Facebook or Instagram if that's where your audience is. Or you can just choose one of them, Instagram or just TikTok, and just post there. You do not have to post everywhere. It's where you believe your audience will be. Now, if you find over time that maybe you aren't reaching those amount of people, it could be that your message isn't clear, or it could also be that you need to expand it to a different platform, that maybe those people that you thought were on that platform have moved on or are no longer there. So that's one way of getting it. Now, another one is your website direct. So maybe they've done a Google search and they have landed on your website, and you should have somewhere on your website above the fold, so right away, some way for them to join your newsletter list. And whether or not that is with a freebie or whether or not they just sign up for the freebie but they just didn't want it, that's fine too. But they get into your newsletter list because they want to hear from you and they want to know more about your services, more about your offers, more about your coaching program, whatever courses you have, whatever it is that you do have, they want to know more about it. Now, On that page that they get when they put in their email address and their name, they'll move over to a thank you for joining. And there should be some way for you to connect with them on there too. Whether or not that is just a thank you, please now like or follow me on social media, or whether or not that is the next step of like watch this webinar or download this worksheet or take this quiz. There should be some other next step for them to do on that thank you page. And that's going to keep them in your sphere and keep them coming back more and more to your world. Now, it's possible that those people don't have the time to do that right then. And if that's the case, don't worry about it because the email funnel that you're created has then the link to them going back to, if you missed the thank you, please go take a look at this video that I've created on your tech stack, or whether or not you didn't take the quiz on your tech confidence. Here's the quiz, and just have them kind of repeat this. And it doesn't have to be in every single email. It can be a funnel, meaning more and more and more emails. So the first email goes out immediately with a thank you. Here's your freebie. The second email then goes out with a day later, and it says, hey, don't forget to grab this. The third one goes out a day after that or 2 days later, and it's like, hey, if you didn't grab this or if you did grab this, thank you so much. Here's more ways you can work with me, more ways you can follow me. And by the way, if you didn't grab it, here's that link. And that is all from your website. So that website first page right above the fold has that link, and that kind of drives them down into Alice in Wonderland's little funnel there, right? Now, that website's also a super important piece of your business because that website's going to tell people about you. It's also going to tell people what kind of services you offer, maybe gives testimonials of things that you have done in the past, sends them to your course platform, sends them to your coaching platform, whatever it might be. And it should be really easy for them to find that information, whether or not that's in the nav bar, all listed out, or whether or not that's just one long page and then maybe just a nav bar at the top that kind of drags them down to the page. You don't have to have multiple pages for a website, depending on what you do, but it is important that you are able to get them to that point easily. Now, once you have that website, of course, if you are a coach or if a service provider or you are just going to be accepting any form of payment, you need to make sure that that's set up. So make sure you have your Stripe, your PayPal, whatever it is that you're using, make sure that is set up and functioning on your website or some way for them to be able to pay you, however that might be. So we have your email, we have your freebie that leads them into that, we have your website, we have your payment, and next, we've already talked about it just a little bit, but I'm just going to briefly go over it again. It's going to be your socials because that is going to be what drives in more and more people into your world. So consistent posting, whether or not that is 3 times a week, whether or not that's 5 times a week, whether or not that's just 1 time a week, and then occasionally you post on something. Make sure that you're posting on your business socials. And if you are a digital creator on Facebook and Instagram, post to your own without any worry about any kind of repercussions. And you can actually send them to your website, or you can send them to your business socials, or you can send them directly to your freebie. And that's also going to lead me to the next step, which could be your sales page, right? So your sales page needs to live somewhere. And you can build a sales funnel completely on your website, meaning you give somebody just the URL to your website that has that information about your next offer, your course platform, your coaching program, whatever it is. And that's going to explain to them why they need it, what's inside of it and why it's important and why they ultimately, again, why they need this. Why is this so important that it's going to fix this problem in their life? Now, there are platforms out there that will allow you to just kind of build on this. Those could be things like lead pages or ClickFunnels, but I have found that it's just as easy sometimes to build them right in the platform that you're already in. There are some advantages to the others, but it's also an added expense. So, depending on where you are, you might want to make that decision one way or the other. Now, after you have your email funnel and your website and your social setup and your sales page set up, what is next is just to get yourself out there, more consistency. Whether or not that is finding a Facebook group that aligns with you and may have people in it that could potentially be clients, those people just need to know who you are. Do a intro post and just be like, "Hey, this is who I am, this is what I offer, and I really thought, you guys might be a great fit to find out more about me." Now, there are a couple of different groups out there, meaning there are groups that are really noisy, that people are just all day long sending out these, intro posts, sending out these advertisement posts. Those may not be where you want to be because there's too much noise and not everybody sees them. You can also have paid groups. People have offered that you can post in their groups unlimited for a certain fee, maybe per year, maybe forever, whatever you might offer. And those people, just make sure that they are aligned with where and who you are looking for. Sometimes those groups change and you may have to reevaluate, but overall, just make sure that you are in the group, that you're adding value to the group, that you're letting people know who you are. And then, of course, just kind of send out some information about yourself when it is appropriate. Sometimes there's days to those, so keep that in mind too. Then the next step that I also want to tell you about is the ever-present networking. Whether or not that is online or whether or not that's in person, definitely go find those groups out there that have networking capabilities. Now, where I am, I network not only in person, but also online. And more places are actually accepting in person and kind of fitting my niche. So I'm finding different groups. Once you find one, sometimes you find another, and then you find another, and it just kind of snowballs into this whole amazing little group that you might have. And just start getting yourself out there. Make sure that on your laptop's notepad or whatever you might have, notes, you'll write up a little description of yourself. So your name, your email address maybe, or your website or your socials, wherever you want to send them. Don't give them too much information to follow, but just a few things. Write the little blurb about who you help, who your best clients are. Do all of that. And then what you'll find is that they will ask if, a lot of times, they'll ask, is there anything that you'd like to put in the chat so everybody can follow? And you just grab that, paste that right in the chat. It's already ready to go. And then you don't have to worry about typing it while trying to talk to somebody at the same time. It's already ready. Now, if you're in person, of course, you're going to probably have your time to chit chat and make sure maybe you might want to have a business card. Depends. Some of the networking groups I go to do want business cards, and others, they just do it digitally. So, and that's a great way to grab your following too. If you have some way for them to maybe get a QR code from your phone, and that QR code goes right to maybe your Instagram account, you can start growing your Instagram account that way. So could be beneficial depending on how technological you want to be with it and whether or not you are in person or you are online and maybe you go to a networking and you don't hand it out to anybody, and then you go to that same networking and you hand it out to everybody the next time. So there's definitely a time in a event where I will take a look, read the room, and kind of say, these are my crowd. And sometimes I'll read the room and say, that person's my crowd, and go just talk to that person. So again, just a couple of different ways for you to get seen that is not necessarily just always on social media. You can always create videos and post them. The best way to do this, and I probably should have done this with this one, is to post live videos. I know it's scary, but even in your own group or the groups that you've maybe purchased, or maybe just go live in YouTube. And those platforms love it when people go live. So you might want to consider a streaming service of some type if you plan on doing this on multiple platforms, or if you are not interested in multiple platforms, record just in Zoom and then go ahead and upload them wherever you might want to be. Then the other way to be seen and heard out there, not only your social media, not only networking, but podcasting. It's one of my most favorite ways for people to find people, because podcasters are always looking for guests, and it is your own private platform. You can just go right ahead and speak into your microphone and tell people whatever it is that you want to tell them, and then pop it up there into the world. And if you have a very specific launch that you're doing or a program that you're going to be offering, you can actually go ahead and send people to your program, your offer, whatever, as long as it's evergreen. I definitely suggest evergreen through any kind of guesting. So whether or not that is you are on somebody else's platform or on somebody else's podcast and you're saying, hey, I just want to let you know that we are offering this, they usually ask that at the end. They all usually ask something along the lines of, do you have any offers, or where would you like to send my audience to talk about? But make sure that in the actual video or in the actual podcast, you are offering a lot of value. So whatever it is that you're an expert on, those are the podcasts that you want to talk to or talk about. You want to talk about whatever it is, and expand your offers too, as far as like, don't just stick in your niche, because you just don't know whether or not somebody in your niche is listening to that, but it could be somebody's passed it along to pass it along to pass it along. So uh, broaden your horizons when you're thinking about who you might want to be on your podcast and who you might want to guest on their podcast. So, and let's see. So we have done your website, your email funnel, your social media, going live, networking, sales page, podcasting. Oh my gosh, there's so many different things that you can do that is just going to move that needle one more tick, one more tick, one more tick. And every time you move that needle another tick, more people get to know you, more people get to see you, and more people get to trust you and want to work with you. So if you have any questions, I invite you to reach out to me and just make a call and see if we're a good fit. Or if you just have some other questions, you can certainly send me a message or right below, and I will reply to them as I can. Thanks so much, and best of luck with your tech stack.